Right, sir. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast, sir, with that valuable perspective. Now, the United States has formally withdrawn from the World Health Organization, completing a year-long exit process initiated under an executive order signed by US President Donald Trump. The White House confirmed the decision with the Departments of Health and Human Services and State, stating that the administration believes that the WHO has strayed from its core mission and failed to meet standards of reform, accountability and transparency. Officials cited the WHO's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic as a key reason for the withdrawal, alleging delays in declaring a global health emergency and actions that ran counter to US interests. Under UN rules, the US was required to give 1 year's notice, which it did in 2025. Joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Aditya Vadavan with more on this. Aditya, finally, all the formalities have been completed. Now the US has formally exited the World Health Organization.
Well, absolutely, Shivani, to see, this was one of the agenda of the US President Donald Trump, when he was last year, he was campaigning for the to run for the President of the United States, and completely have said that he has, as soon as Trump became the President of the United States for the second time, he disbanded the USAID and he ended all the UN-funded, US-funded UN programs that were in relation with the vaccine program. So definitely now, ending the US now withdrawing from the World Health Organization is a great concern, because a lot of medical programs and vaccines programs the United States government used to fund. So indeed, at this juncture, it is a significant thing that has happened. This is a very significant development that has happened with respect to the global order, and it needs to be seen what ramifications will now follow post this US exit from the World Health Organization. Shivani.
Absolutely, Aditya. In fact, when we are looking at the reasons that the US has cited, it said that the WHO has not been able to, stick to its core mission. It has failed to even meet standards of reform, of accountability. US is stating that there is no transparency, in fact, in the WHO. So it's one of the main reasons that it cited is the COVID-19 pandemic as well, and that US interests were not protected.
Indeed, the US has been, Trump has been accusing the WHO of absolutely incompetence, when it comes, it has been saying that the WHO hasn't been able to, the handling of the WHO, or the handling of the COVID pandemic by the WHO was abysmal as per the statements by US President Donald Trump, and it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario, because now the US was a significant contributor to several WHO programs. It needs to be seen now what happens and how the WHO will fund all its programs across the globe.
Absolutely. Aditya, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Now, in solemn remembrance, the GOC White Knight Corps